So now let's welcome AJ Althuis of Talenthouse to talk to us about what his Talenthouse does.
First off, thank you for having me here today. My name is AJ Althuis. I am the owner of Talenthouse Consulting. A little bit of background about me is I'm originally from Amsterdam. I'm on my second stint here in the US. I spent 6 years in Atlanta in the 90s. And now in 2007, I was transferred back from, at that time, Belgium, here to the US. I was working for Accenture, one of the larger management consulting firms at the time. And I have worked over the last 30 years predominantly in HR management. And in 2009, on July 1st of 2009, I started Talenthouse Consulting. The evening before I was fired from my job, I had set up a consulting division for a contingent labor firm. And my boss called me 5 o'clock the day before, and he said, AJ, fire your team. When you're done, you're fired. Well, what other kick in the butt do you need to start a company, right? So that's what I did, July 1st of 2009. Now, truth be told, starting your own consulting firm in the midst of a financial crisis may not be the wisest of things. Anyway, long story short, I've had Talenthouse Consulting since 2009. I have done a variety of activities through it, and I'll get into some of it more in a few slides. Currently, I'm also a business professor at Rollins College. I teach in the undergraduate business program. One of the courses I teach is entrepreneurship, funny enough. Although there are voices that I've heard here in the room say you can't teach entrepreneurship. So that's maybe something for a follow-up conversation. And so with COVID and the last 3 years at Rollins, I've not done too many activities, but this last fall, something new came on my path and I picked that up, and that's what I'm also talking about today. So this is kind of the rundown of what I want to talk about. What is it? What the services do? Specifically the M4 program. Talk a little bit about the market and the growth. I have some projections, as well as, I think that is the traditional classical question here. How can we help? And I definitely have some ideas on it, because if there's one thing I know is, and this is something is embedded in the culture of Accenture, asking for help is a sign of strength, because you know where your boundaries are. And that's something we live by, and I think that's a great statement. Now, as a good business professor, my slides are extremely text heavy. So if I had to grade myself on that, probably not an A. However, a couple of things. Coming from HR, my number one rule with Talenthouse is I will never, ever have a single employee. We're a network company, so when we need someone with a specific skill set, we will, hire them in as an independent contractor. And so, we can get senior expertise in, and we're that way we can run very lean, but also only use that particular skill set at the moment that we need it for that particular client assignment. It makes us lean, and I don't like overhead, I don't like admin, and I don't like paperwork. So that works as well. So it's very collaborative. Obviously, I've lived in 3 different countries. I've moved across the Atlantic 5 times already, and I have worked through Accenture, working on global projects. I've worked on every continent that we have, other than those that are permanently ice capped. So coming from business, I'm really about results. cut away the fluff. What's really going to work, and that's what I'm focused on. Now, talking about consulting is more strategic advice as well as practical implementation. I focus on small, medium, and growth-oriented companies because it's basically more fun. Because some of the large companies they know everything already. Interim management, I've done a few stints running a unit, but now mental mindset just came on my path. One of my old colleagues from Holland contacted me, and she and a partner developed this mental mindset employee development program. Long story short, it's about improving the mental mindset. It's about willpower. It's about building confidence, making people realize that they have choices in life and that they don't need to just, carry on to carry on. And it's a very powerful program. Long story short, as of January 1st, I'm now the exclusive reseller of that program for the US and Canada. And we have translated it in English, which is now available. And as of January 1st, we will also have it in Spanish subtitling, because I think that's part of a growing market here in the US as well. So, and it is really focused on that program. We're focusing on larger companies, and there's a reason for it. But why the program in the first place? If you look at where we are today, there are many challenges, and we find that employees are not as productive as they possibly could be because of some of these challenges. And it is leading them to feel deflated, not being in control, unhappy, and generally low energy. That's not what you want. Stepping back from an HR perspective, number one, you need them to physically show up. That's sometimes a challenge. And when they're there, you want them to be mentally acute, because otherwise you get quality errors, you get slippage, you get spoilage, and all those kind of things. People don't produce as much on an hourly, daily rate as they possibly could be. So this program addresses some of these, and that's why I'm very passionate about this program. Now, it's leaving them generally uninspired and unsatisfied. Probably have heard of the Great Resignation. Some of these things, including the social contract, which is that relationship with your manager, and if that trust gets broken, people just mentally quit. Now, how can you prevent that? And obviously, from a corporate perspective, you can actually save money by being better at these things. And this is a program that can carry that into the organization. Now, a couple of shout outs here on the market and growth. So initial focus of us bringing this to the US market is on very large companies with a reputation to be a good employer. Why specifically them? Because we already know, if they're a good employer, that they have an interest in how they, that they care for employees. Now, can they do better? Well, we possibly can, and we have some ideas on that. They have budget for learning and development. The number here is about 2% of payroll, or $2,000 roughly per employee per year. Now, our program, we're running it for $249 an employee. And so it's very much, and that's one of the conversations I had with the founders is that I partner with in Europe, is it has to be affordable. So we can, in the US, you want to scale up quickly. And this is a price point that is, I think, quite scalable. Now, what I'm looking to do now to bring this into the market, next 12 months, I'm going to hire 4 regional sales leads. You see a nice little picture of US, regional regions, and then within those regions, we'll have, sales associates, running one or more states. We'll build out the team so we have much more touch points with potential clients. These roles are fully commission based, and and there will be independent contractor kind of relationship, but it will also give them total freedom. We set targets. However, it is up to them on how they achieve them, obviously within the boundaries of the law. And, there's some value statements that we have at Talenthouse on how we want to get those things accomplished. Now, where is this all going to lead then? I'm looking at selling 30,000 licenses this year as I'm ramping up, and you can see that there's quite a nice ramp up of licenses sold, which then results in considerable revenue growth and profit potential. So, and again, we're running this lean and mean, and however, it's a very rewarding commission structure. So to give you an indication, the way I have this planned is, the sales associate, they're running one or more states. I'm looking at 200K a year, and the regional leads will probably run a multitude of that. So I think it can be quite attractive for people to get on board with this, and that's why I'm looking to stage the team. And I heard it earlier is, obviously, you need to get started. In this market, to get experienced, successful salespeople, you need to be able to offer a draw program, commission draw program, because they're already they have monthly cash flow. And for them to, stop that and join me, I need to offer that. Well, that's going to get, so that's an initial cash out. So I've had some conversations about a 20% equity stake. There were, some details that I didn't agree with, and the timeline didn't work because they needed at least 6 months to pool the money together. So, and I want to go first. Starting much smaller, if I can obtain a $250,000 business loan, I can get started this year, at least hiring the first 3 people. And, and then there will be enough cash flow to repay that loan as well as further expand my team. Obviously, I'm always looking for leads and referrals, and we're hiring. So if you know of people that have worked in the HR space, in the learning and development space, that might be interested to work in a capacity like this, I'm happy to hear from you. And that's my presentation. I have my contact information here. And I'm very curious to hear your questions.
How many contractors do you have now, and what's your revenue as of the end of June?
Well, I launched it 2 weeks ago. So we went live 2 weeks ago. I currently don't have anyone on the team. I'm in conversation with several of the people that I've worked with in the past about joining. But in some of those conversations, the big hesitation to join is not the product, not working with me, strangely enough, but it is, it's the cash flow, and that's what I'm looking for.
Well, you're doing 1099, so they're no different than insurance agents, real estate agents. So you can try and put them on an exclusive contract without a draw or something. Highly unlikely they're going to play that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did C-level sales like this, and we had ridiculous salaries, benefits, all that. And so if you don't have that, you say, okay, well, then you're going to have to at least do some kind of six-figure draw against conditions.
Right, and I have the draw plan written out, and I have, calculations of how much I need. And that's why, coming back to one of the slides is, I can fund it either by selling part of the company and raise some money that way, or take out a business loan and get started with the first couple of salespeople. And as they build their pipeline and start, selling licenses, the revenue, I'll be able to repay the loan as well as further expand the sales team.
We figure the sales cycle is going to be on this.
Between 6 weeks and 6 months. You're shaking no.
If you can close this in 6 weeks, God bless you. But to me, this is similar to a large scale software sale. I think you're looking at 6 to 24 months. Provided the people you get can walk in the door of FedEx tomorrow, can walk in the door of Bank of America tomorrow, and put the right person, I think they might, because the majority of these companies are going to spend the bulk of this, especially something they're unaware of, in Q4 with that leftover, or Q1 with that leftover budget money. I know when I did it, the huge chunk of my sales were from October till February. Meaning that in the beginning of the year, they have money budgeted for stuff. At the end of the year, they have leftover money.
Mhm.
And so if you chase that, that would still put you at 6 to 24. I wish you success. That's true.
Yeah. So in my experience, among others with Accenture, is those sales cycles can certainly be shorter. Yes.
From a sales perspective, you had a slide earlier, it says it's about 2% of employees.
No, the learning and development budget in larger corporations is typically 2% of payroll.
So that budget's already in place for these companies.
Yes, that's a typical budget.
From a sales perspective, you're walking into the HR person and you're presenting your program in hopes of getting that money that's already set aside to move into your space. And then what's the interaction with each employee? Is this something that they do online? Is this something that they
So
do?
yes, it's a series of 14 videos online, but in addition to that, before you start on the videos, it's a train the trainer model. So we will train the in-house moderators, because in between the videos, there will be, what we call mind talks, where that moderator sits with a group of employees and talks about the various themes. So this is also very powerful, and we Bosch in Europe is a client of ours, and they had a business unit that they acquired from Philips, and a lot of engineers, and they were deflated. So we've run this program there, and we were able to re-energize them because that was their theme that we added on this. So the program became the vessel for their additional theme in the organizational change. And with it, we've been able to, re-energize that unit, and they're on track to deliver on targets that they weren't even close to achieving.
You have sample videos that you could log on to YouTube or someplace and get a small sample of what these presentations are?
No, we don't publish them on YouTube, because if they're on YouTube, then you go there.
I'm just thinking of companies like Schwab and Abbott that I used to work for, to be able to walk into their HR person and say, hey, I've got this guy who's got this program.
So I can, I have given people, prospective clients a login, so they can see the whole that. Yes, I do that.
Okay.
But that's on the premise that, we're in conversations about running a program in their company.
That's after qualifying.
That's, if there's initial interest and, we're having a serious conversation, well, I wouldn't buy this program if I hadn't seen the videos myself. So,
Right.
So that's part of the sales cycle that, I'll make a login available, and they can run the program. They can see it for themselves. I think the gentleman over here has his hands up.
Your numbers that you had, was that
individual employees, or is that companies?
It is selling licenses to corporations.
So each license is the whole corporation, not in.
No, it is the number of employees. So, but this year I'm looking at 30,000 licenses. If I, sell those to 3 companies and they take 10,000 licenses for their employees each, that's it.
So what's the competitive edge? Is it the pricing or the approach of your videos? Because a lot of these companies already have something like that going on. How would you convince them?
Well, it's an overall development program. So yes, there are spot solutions for different parts of it, but not an overall comprehensive program like we are delivering. Now, from a pricing perspective, is we're looking at this price point, because at this price point is the medium income or the medium employee salary in the US is $45,000. 1% of that is $450. Now, with the experiences we have in Europe, on average, we see well over a 1% productivity increase. So if you look at it at those numbers, it becomes kind of a no-brainer to say, hey, I want to seriously look at this program, because it's more than just an employee watching a couple of videos. We train the moderators, and there's follow-up conversations, etc.
Pretty short. Josh, let me put all the text. But it's a great program. The last 2 years, emphasis on empathy. It's the top leader and his team. I'm not empathetic. Everything's out the window.
Correct.
So you want to yourself grooming the top guys to make sure they're empathetic.
Yeah, and tying back to a program, I was a HR director at Nike, and I ran a similar program at Nike in the 2000s. So we first trained the leadership, and then once we had that, leadership became part of the solution. And so if you look at these programs, are you going to start bottom up or top down? Well, there's a lot to say, to your point, to say, well, let's do this top down, because we need to kind of open the eyes of the leadership and then cascade it down.
And they become the champion of your program.
So Jane on the chat had a couple of things for you. She said, for a list of top corporations and organizations in the area, including categories on best place to work, number of employees, and contact information, the Orlando Business Journal Book of Lists 2021, 2022, OBJ, Corner Pubs of Orlando. And then she also has for National Heat Map and the ability to create a list of companies by industry and makes codes, Fortune 500 contact. She's got a data axle reference. And so she's got a lot of different, and even suggestions for funding. So turn around, look at the TV, that's Jane right there.
Hi, Jane. Hi, Jane.
Anyway, she works at the Orange County Public Library downtown, and she has helped a lot of entrepreneurs who are coming in. They're like starting their businesses. I think you heard her talking earlier. She provides a lot of those great resources. So just to get into the data that she's got, unless they've got it at Rollins, go see Jane at the library.
Okay, I'll definitely want to follow up with Jane. Thank you.
I have 2 questions for you. This is my meat, because years ago I was a productivity consultant. Do you have a way of measuring productivity for a company? And also, is this part of your project that you'll show what it is in the future, so you can show your results?
So I'm in the process of making a measurement. So one of the things that I want to do here with our customers in the US, start with a 0 measurement, and then the progress. For a number of reasons. Number one is that that we can relay that information to the client saying, okay, this is your investment that you made. These are the results that we've gotten. But also to possibly fine tune this program, as well as obviously for future sales cycles, saying, okay, this is the proof of results that we've had, and this is becomes sales collateral that we can share with prospective clients.
The second question, are you aware of crowdfunding?
I'm aware of it. I've not looked at it.
Well, there's a lot of different crowdfunding companies out there. And one of the advantages of crowdfunding, it used to be by law, you can only raise $1 million to $30,000. Raise it $5 million now. The advantage of crowdfunding can be anybody. It doesn't have to be an accredited investor. They can sell to the guy, it's up to you. You can bring in $10. Plus, they can arrange for you. You can sell whatever you want. You can give equity, you can give debt. You work that out with the crowdfunding company. If they like you, and I've got somebody I can introduce you to.
Okay, well, maybe we can follow up after this. Thank you.
All right, sorry, we're out of time. So the final question that we have for you is, and you sort of answered this, but we'll ask it again. What can we as a community do for you?
Well, that goes back to the slide that I prepared towards the end is so I am actively looking for capital. I am in conversation with prospective clients, and more leads is always better. And then I think this is an opportunity for certain individuals to join us and go on this journey with us.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, and then next. I will talk a little bit about what I have been doing for the last 8 months. It can all be summed up poorly in this slide. Let's see. So I did something, I was invited, as were all of the organizers and all the 1 Million Cups chapters around the country, to participate in something called a collaborative learning circle, which in English means group. But one of the organizers, they were going to train us and teach us some new ways of thinking about organization and about the organization, about organizing. And so they split us up into 3 different circles. One was READY, which was radical equity or equality, diversity, and inclusion. There was another group on, I can't remember what the third group was. I was in a room with them for 2 hours last week. And then our group was on inclusive sustainability. How do you create a sense of co-ownership between your community? We're not allowed to call them chapters, but they're chapters. But how do you create a sense of community with your local community and your 1MC community, which is, it's confusing. And so we started meeting in October of last year, and once a month we would get together in our 3 groups, and we each had a facilitator who would run us through these activities, and we learn some things, we try some things, we would do some experiments that we actually went out and did to see what we came up with. And so I'm giving you an abridged, a very abridged version of the presentation that we gave. We had 21 people from all over the country. The closest one we had was to us, I think it was Robert Blackledge from Tallahassee, Florida. But do you really? But we literally had people from, I think, all 3 time zones. And so we had varying degrees of participation. And with about 3 weeks to go before they made us give this big 30-minute presentation, we didn't have anything pulled together. And so I said, well, I guess I'll do it. And so that's how I got to do this. So our big question kind of overarching the entire purpose of our group is, how do we connect with our community? How do we connect with the National Entrepreneur Center and the local chambers and the cultural chambers and what we call economic support organizations, or finding groups of founders and future founders. And so we conducted a little experiment. We had 3 target audiences. Like I said, we wanted to meet the ESOs, founders and future founders, and even other 1MC organizers. And I was doing this a couple of years ago, where I was just getting in touch with other 1 Million Cups organizers around the state, and we were having Zoom calls and talking about, how are you doing what you're doing? And we would have this exchange back and forth of, what are you doing? How did you work this? What did you do about that? How do you still have all your fingers? Just different questions. And so different people within our circle conducted these little experiments. And so my job, and another guy named Erik from Albuquerque, we reached out to local ESOs, and Erik sent 8 outreach emails. I don't like Erik. You'll see why. He sent out 8 outreach emails. He got 3 responses, 3 positive responses, 1 full follow through, 1 SWOT session, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and troublemaking. And they did 4 short notice community gatherings. So he did that all with 8 emails. I sent out 12 outreach emails and heard nothing. So I sent out 12 more emails to the same people. Then I got 1 positive response. 1 group I almost met with, the person I got the positive response with is Abigail from the Haitian Chamber of Commerce, and we had coffee, and we're best friends now. She's great. But none of them have come to any meetings. So screw that guy, because I don't know how he did it. But I did talk to Katie from BizLink Orange. She was here last week, if anybody remembers. She has an office at the National Entrepreneurial Center, and I was telling her about this, and she said, oh, don't feel bad. Most of the cultural chambers who have a space in our office, like the Hispanic Chamber, the Black Chamber, the Asian Chamber, she said they've been going through just a lot of change in their organizations on their leadership, and they're just now getting back into the swing of things. So your emails probably didn't get seen by the people who needed to see them. And so I'm going to try one more time. So I'm going to be able to add 1 more line to the nothing else will change, but I'll set 12 additional emails. So that was that. So, but I still am optimistic that, I can reach these chambers and these groups and more of these ESOs and make some positive things happen. But in the meantime, if anybody is connected with any organization beyond the founders and future founders, if you know any economic support organizations, please don't wait for me to contact them. Reach out to them. Sean.
You may know Terry Ross.
Yes.
He's retiring, but it was nice to meet with him.
Okay. Can you arrange an introduction for me?
He's right here. NEC. He's the one head of Orange Biz Org. 60 non-profit organizations.
Okay.
So you can make a difference.
Okay, great. All right. Michael, did you? Okay, great. Thank you. So the next group that we focused on were founders and future founders. And these are things like startup events, startup weekend, or startup groups, or incubators and co-working spaces like this place, or like Starter Studio downtown, which is now part of the UCF Business Incubator. But I used to go there when it was Canvas, spelled with only 1 A. And I met other entrepreneurs, and what was funny, I used to go to the 1 Million Cups tele events that they had, because this group at Rollins was beaming it over Facebook, and the Canva people brought donuts, and so I never missed a week. I had no idea really, anything about Rollins College. I didn't know the room that it was meeting in. It was in the Bush Auditorium, and I thought that looks like a really nice place. And so I finally kind of put two and two together when Caesar invited me to this group, and I saw the room. I was like, oh, that's what I was watching. And there were donuts, so like best of both worlds. But anyway, then startup events or like startup weekend or the thing that Rupert went to, which was what was it called technically? It was the Orlando Magic Startup Weekend.
Innovation Challenge.
Innovation Challenge. And so that was startup weekend for sports. But Rupert went to that and, not only did very well for himself and VJ went to that, but Rupert represented the group. Did you wear your polo there?
Actually, I think one day I did.
Okay, see, so even wearing the swag and representing the group. So we can, as an organization, get involved with these startup weekends and these startup groups and these incubators. Just being there and being able to talk to people, sort of like you're evangelizing to them. Have you accepted the power of entrepreneurship? And then other 1MC organizers. And so this slide is actually for the presentation because we were all on Zoom. If you want to meet other 1MC organizers, you look left and you look right, and those are other organizers. You go to 1millioncups.org and you visit the different chapters and you see there who's the leaders of those groups. And then of course, look up and look down because those people are also organizers. And so we had an activity that we did where we said, there were like 70 people on the screen. And we said, pick a person and DM them your email address and set up a Zoom meeting with them and actually meet and talk to them for an hour and have, and just have a discussion about what you're doing in your chapter, what they're doing in their chapter and what we can learn. And so, you find out that within the same state or 2 time zones away, even though we are the same group that's part of the same foundation, people do things differently and they have different ideas and they have different levels of success. Erik from Albuquerque was batting 500 with 8 emails and I'm batting like, 0.0125 with 24 emails. But he and I exchanged notes and he gave me some ideas for the emails that I'm going to send out a 3rd time to see what can I improve on? So it's important to have those conversations. I think that is it. So basically everything got turned into, we took our presentations, they were mashed up into one giant presentation. The presenter, the woman who was running the meeting did it all on Canva. I do not recommend Canva as presentation software. It is not presentation software. Because she had to turn everything to a PDF and we were basically just advancing pages on a PDF. These were not actual slides that you got to interact with. But it was a great event. We had people who were not only in the CLC process all year, but we had different organizers just showing up and being a part of the presentations and seeing what was going on. So it was a fun time. So I don't know if they're going to do that in the future, but if you are on the board here and they do it again, I do recommend it because if nothing else, it's just a great way to meet other people who are doing what you're doing and you get to learn from them. So do we have any questions? No? Awesome.
As a community, what can we do for you?
Thank you. That is an excellent question. So really kind of my mission is I'm still committed to this idea here of reaching out to community organizations. I think 1 Million Cups could be the biggest entrepreneurial organization in the city. We don't have a specific focus. We're not focused on a particular industry or a particular size of company. We love all entrepreneurs, whether it's the person who's starting up a side hustle in their garage to the person who has grown their single person vision into a company of 20 employees. We'd love to have them all. And so if you know of any organizations that I can meet with and talk to, or that you can go meet with and talk, don't ask for permission from me. Just go talk to them and help find these other organizations and get them to invite their members to us. So, thank you.
Biggest entrepreneurial thing in Central Florida is, because
The biggest group I would have just by number would be the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, but just by number of members. But if they are like other big city chambers that I've been involved with, they are not there for the entrepreneurs. It's a good story they tell, and they say, well, we'll have these business after hours events and we'll have these breakfasts. And we've got people like, name large organization or large corporation. They're a member of the chamber. Well, they're not going to be at the business after hours. It's just, you're going to meet, if you're a mortgage broker, you're going to meet other mortgage brokers. You're not going to meet the head of HR from, I don't know, who's our big employer here? Disney, Advent Health. Darden, yeah, they don't come to our events. So by number, it's Orange County Chamber. By purpose and by actual number of people served, I don't know the answer to that.
We have had people from Disney, Darden, Publix, et cetera, and Advent and so forth, attend 1 Million Cups events.
Really?
Yes. And they were either starting their own businesses or they were interested in supporting entrepreneurship in some way.
Okay. If anybody knows any of those people, we'll get them back in the room. I mean, if nothing else, one more person increases our head count. So anyone else?
Central Florida Inventors Council, you guys ever talk to them?
Oh my God.
I did not know that was a thing.
It's a thing. I'm on their email list all the time.
Cool. I would love to talk to them.
I was with them when they started back in '93.
Really?
Yeah.
They're still going.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I used to go to.
I'll
the
give you,
events
I'll
all
get
the
you their
time.
info. Forgot about your peeps. Yeah.
Wow.
What's it called? I'm sorry.
Central Florida Inventors Council. Yes.
In addition to all the startup groups that you mentioned, I didn't hear any international groups. In this era of Zoom, you can easily set up meetings, of course, with people overseas around the world. And it's not just for more voices or more numbers, but it's to understand other cultures.
Mhm. Were you here when Nima Anvar was? Yeah. Nima is from Grenada. And he has been like one of our biggest supporters, certainly our biggest Grenadian supporter, but like he's been one of our biggest supporters just in general. And he goes to other chapters and kind of tells them about us. And we love Nima. I'd love to meet him in person. He's coming here one of these days.
And normally Trevor Gibbs is that line from Brazil.
Oh, and that's right.
Yeah,
Trevor is an Englishman who lives in Brazil. And they're trying to work out some visa issues. And so he is there for the foreseeable future. But again, his goal is to come back here. But the one reason we can't go completely international is because we are managed, hosted, run by the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City, the Ewing and Marion Kauffman Foundation. And so their purview is to help American entrepreneurship. And so there's even some pushback from the organization when we were going to have Nima speak. They said, well, he's not even from here. And I said, I don't care. He's here every week. And so they didn't say anything else. I do know that their push is to keep it within the United States, which is why I haven't done any outreach to anywhere else. But it is a good idea. Yes.
One idea I have is the WordPress groups are primarily entrepreneurs.
Oh, really?
The WordPress groups in Orlando are not nearly as healthy as the ones I had in Phoenix, but they're maybe worth trying.
Okay. I think I'm in one or two on Meetup, and I think I turned off their emails because I kept saying, oh, I'm not going. So, but that is, I can kind of turn that back on and maybe start attending some of those. So.
Go back and look at mine because I think I turned mine off too when they went online. But there was one group in particular I can visualize the space where we used to meet. It was quite
Great, super. Yes,
New here, but
that's okay.
for years I used to attend in Columbia, South Carolina, which has a very thriving, large, longstanding.
Yeah.
And I looked up the Miami group, and it started at 9:30. So I actually thought this one started at.
Oh,
9:30.
okay.
So forgive me for my.
No problem. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. Are you? Is it okay to go to the kind of the suburbs or the exurbs, because you know the focus is Orlando, but there's so many, you know, the Winter Park, the Maitland,
Sure.
everything's just north of us, everything just south of us. Like, is it just too far, maybe, or?
Well, like I'm from Oviedo, so technically I'm not in Orlando, but I'm up here. And so really we should think of it as a Central Florida community, not just Orlando. And so for that reason, we can draw from there. But the problem is if we go there, like, you know, where Oviedo is, imagine being in Windermere or Scott, you know, being like, no, hey, we're meeting in Oviedo. That's a hike. It's great for me.
I'm going to Port Orange right after this.
You
so-
are.
Yeah, so when I lived in South Carolina, I got a little spoiled. Everything was a 10, 15, 20-minute drive. I moved to Virginia after that, and everything became an hour or so right away. And then I'm originally kind of from Orlando. I had been here since '89. So when I came back right before COVID, like I was kind of shocked at the growth and the sprawl change, and
Yeah.
it's really neat.
10 minutes these days doesn't even get me out of Oviedo.
Well, for 4 years, we were in Winter Park at Rollins.
Yeah, Rollins College, and that was kind of an issue that some people had. It's like, that's far for us. And he's not here today, but Josh Zephas comes from, where does he live? Windermere?
Windermere, yeah.
Comes from Windermere, and he was coming up to Winter Park every week. Never complained.
Would you be open to maybe partner with like Regis or something? Because like, for instance, they have about 11 locations in Central Florida, co-working type spaces. You have to have like a membership with them, or you could even.
It'd be worth a conversation.
Because what you can do is you can kind of, you have your, like us, the central, but then you'll have the like Nona, you'll have the Dr. Phillips, you'll have, and so obviously someone would have to probably be there and man it and provide coffee. But you can more than likely get a business within the Regis Plaza, you know, business that's already there to sponsor at least the coffee and to show up and turn on the camera.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Things like that.
That would be good. Sort of like a remote. Oh, hi, Jay. Sort of like universities do remote learning. Yeah, we could do that.
Because it only, again, distance, like, trust me, I debated, do I want to drive? Because I'm in North Orlando. So I had to drive 20 minutes here, and then I still have to drive an hour to Port Orange. I'm like, I think I could just get on the Facebook and watch it there. And so that was my thought. But if there was one on the way to Port
Right.
Orange, I would have done that, you know, and I just looked and I said, that's the issue kind of that I see growth-wise in Central Florida. Those you need to go out further to service people or clients and stuff.
My vision, and this is like far off, if a lot of great things happened, would be that Orlando gets so big that we have to split into 2 chapters. Atlanta does that. Atlanta has North Atlanta, South Atlanta chapters. And so I would love to see us get so big that we have to, you know, split just to keep everybody happy, because our rooms are not big enough to contain us. I'd love to get to that point. Bob.
I think we got a perfect location. We got the executive airport right here. We're close to everything. Right. Just jump on a plane.
Yep. Yeah,
Helicopter if you need to.
my goal is to remain as centrally located as possible. So ultimately, we want to fill this room up so much that we have to start meeting in the downtown incubator. But then the problem we're trying to solve there is parking.
Yeah, for years at Rollins, you know, we were averaging 60 to 80 people a week.
And they get this free parking.
Yeah, free parking. So we.
I have a easy solution. Let us make 2 time zone, our own time zone.
There you go. Orlando time.
Oh, time.
Cool.
Well,
Well,
size of this chapter now.
They're not letting us back.
if you count active members, 30 to 40, not all at the same time, but 30 to 40. But when you look at the meetup group, it's like 1,500 members on meetup. I don't know the numbers on Facebook.
I know 1,100. I think.
Why do you think you've lost 20, 30 members from the time in
COVID.
COVID? Really?
Yeah, so we were meeting 60 people at a time at Rollins. And then we took time off in the early part of COVID. And when we came back, we were on Zoom. We were on Zoom and immediately our numbers were cut by 2/3. And then I just watched a slow trickle. And then around January, we had 8 people on the Zoom call. And we were ready to come back in person. We were just looking for a place to go. And then finally I had a conversation with Michael and he said, how about here or downtown? And we ultimately landed on here because parking is free.
What about SBDC? They've got the parking garage and they've got those big conference rooms. Couldn't we go over there?
Where's SBDC? Oh,
He's gonna talk about entrepreneurial.
they were happy to rent us a room. And, we really don't pay for anything.
Donuts.
Yeah, Denny provides the donuts, Peter provides the coffee, and those are sponsored, so, but we don't pay for anything, we're not allowed to handle money, you can't give me $10 for the group. And so we don't have a mechanism to collect money to pay rent. Sean?
They're going to pay rent at NBC?
When I had talked to them a couple of times, they were going to rent us a room. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because what I noticed in Columbia, they always chose a business that kind of had a conference room already and kind of had those things already set up and wanted that traffic of those entrepreneurs and angel investors.
Yeah. I used to belong to an organization in Indianapolis called Rainmakers. And we always met at restaurants that were not open for breakfast. But we had to pay them rent. So like I paid, I think $90 a month to be in Rainmakers. And they paid each restaurant. They met monthly at the same place. We had like 25 chapters around the city, half the size of Orlando, and just 25 chapters around the city, maybe 20. And you met like up in Fishers the first Friday of every month. And it was this microbrewery, and they had a manager and a server there to do the coffee thing, and we paid them a couple $100, I think, for that.
Beer isn't just for breakfast anymore.
That, yeah. All right, well, I think that's all we've got time for. If anybody else has questions or ideas, I'll be here for a little while. Otherwise, I encourage everybody to mix and mingle, get to know each other, make a connection, find somebody that you can have coffee or lunch with this week, and we will see you all next week. Thank you very much.